Welcome to Conspiracy Corner Podcast, everyone. This is Abe, your host. It is a drivecast episode, just driving to work. Happy New Year's, everyone. I hope everyone stays safe, doesn't drink too much, at least not to the point of hangover or poisoning or something. Let me know in the comments section if you guys got any resolutions. It's amateur night tonight, so there's always idiots out on the road, so who knows, I might even get pulled over. It might be an exciting episode. As far as resolutions, I guess the only resolution that I really have would be to just drink less and try to stay sane during all this COVID stuff. It's not even really the virus that bothers me, it's what the government's doing. The whole Agenda 21 and Great Reset, that's the shit that stresses me out. Because I mean, really, the virus, as far as I know, still hasn't ever been isolated. You know, and people go, well, why would they? You know, it's all on paper. It's on paperwork. There's the Fauci emails, and surely it's got to be real. Well, I mean, look at NASA. Look at all the paperwork NASA forges. Or, I was really into a big conspiracy back in the day, Holy Blood, Holy Grail. I mean, there's a thick-ass book with documents and everything on it, on how Pierre Plantard was supposed to be the offspring of Jesus Christ, like the bloodline of David, and turns out that whole thing was a hoax, you know? So, I mean, it's possible. You gotta think with the Fauci emails, too, like, what does Fauci actually even do? Someone made a really good point. That dude is always doing interviews, and does he actually even do anything, like, as far as, like, being a doctor? All I ever see him doing is interviews and shit. So, I mean, it could all be theater, you know? And if they're wanting to do a great reset, I'm sure they'd have no problem doing all this theater to get their objective done, you know? But, yeah, that's my resolution as someone who struggles with substance abuse and mental issues. Just stay sane and drink less, if not at all, you know. Today I bought the third Conjuring movie recently, and so the other day, it was a day off, and I did a movie marathon of the trilogy. So I figured I'd honestly just do like a review of the whole trilogy as a whole. If it lasts that long, this recording is only like 27 minutes long, so we'll see. If it cuts off during it, it is what it is. So the Conjuring 1. I would say the Conjuring 1 would be the most realistic of all three Conjuring movies. I watched it way back in the day when I was like, I wasn't in high school, I don't think. I was out and about living with my mom and my ex-wife. We were only like maybe like 18, 19 years old, maybe 20. And man, the imagery and stuff, especially like the witch on top of the cupboard, or the witch hovering above the mom, the part where she's underneath the blanket and coughs up all the blood and her face starts ripping through. I don't know, that imagery like fucked with me. I think it fucked with my ex-wife too. Like, we were actually legit like freaked out like that night. coming home, and a movie hadn't done that to me in like forever. I think the last movie before The Conjuring 1, when it first came out, that actually legit freaked me out that bad was The Exorcist. And I don't know, that's what gets me. Not so much jump scares, not so much... It's just the disturbing imagery is what gets me. And especially when it comes to like paranormal and stuff, just because in the past I had a demonic experience. I did a whole episode on it, so you can check it out on the YouTube channel. I think it's called My First Live Stream. And like my demonic experience. So yeah, if you're listening audio only, you should be able to find that episode also. But you can also check us out on YouTube if you want to put a face to a voice. It's Conspiracy Corner Podcast, and the profile picture is a bunny rabbit with a samurai sword. We're also on YouTube. And if you want to listen to us audio only, because it does save your phone battery if you're like working or in the car or something. You can find us on Spotify, Anchor, Breaker, Radio Public, and Google Podcast. But we all know with Hollywood that they'll take a true story, because all of the Conjuring movies are supposed to be based off of like true stories. They'll take a true story and give it like a Hollywood twist. Make it over dramatic, add stuff that never happened. I felt like out of the trilogy that they did it the least amount with the first movie. Like the first movie was perfect. It was like just enough Hollywood extravagance without it being too over the top compared to the rest of the series. The movie starts out with Annabelle. And by the way, the actual real Annabelle doll is just a Raggedy Ann. A lot of people don't know that. So I understand like that the director needed to change Annabelle to make her look scarier, because if they would have used just a Raggedy Ann, pretty sure like most people would have walked out of the theater like, oh, this is stupid, you know? So I totally get why he did artistic license on stuff like that. Now they made a whole side series of Annabelle. They made Annabelle the movie and then Annabelle Creation. And I've seen both of those. And those are completely, the entire fucking thing is just fabricated. Which sucks. Because the opening scene of The Conjuring 1, they could have made that into an entire movie within itself. And made that like a side movie, a side Annabelle movie. And there was actually a case where it was a boy on a motorcycle. Him and his girlfriend went up to the actual, in the movie Conjuring, in the basement, they have like where they, Ed and Lorraine Warren, where they keep all their haunted objects and cursed objects and stuff like that. They keep them in cases and on shelves and stuff. Now, they turned that into a museum in real life. Like, you can go and pay a fee, and you can actually go and see the real Annabelle. They also do tours with the Annabelle doll, which is pretty cool. Just because not everybody can get over there. I think it's like in Connecticut or something. Me and Sammy, we plan on going, maybe like taking our week vacations together and driving out and going to see her. I think that would be awesome, you know. Maybe make a YouTube video on it or something. That, and I think Lorraine Warren, I'm not sure if she's dead or if she's still alive or what. But it'd be cool to meet her. Where was I going with this, though? Oh, Yeah, there was a story though too that they could have added in if they made like a whole individual legit good Annabelle movie. Like this boy and this girl, they were a couple, and I guess they were just riding around wanting to go on a date. So they went out to the museum to go see Annabelle. And this was when Ed was still alive, and Ed was telling them like, hey, don't talk to her, you know, don't be smarting off to her, don't mess with the case, you know, all that blah blah blah. And this dumb kid starts banging on the case and like yelling at it, like making fun of Annabelle and stuff, like, you stupid doll, you dumb idiot, all that jazz. And Ed literally walks over and he's like, what the hell are you doing? Like, get the hell out of here, man. So he kicks him out, and the boy and the girl hop on the motorcycle, which is like one of the most dangerous vehicles anyways, and go to drive home and shit. And I think like a tire popped, or I can't remember the exact way that it happened, but they ended up wrecking the bike, and either both of them died or one or the other died. But yeah, it's kind of like Robert the doll, you know, you don't fuck with Annabelle. Robert the doll would be like the equivalent of Annabelle. Like, he's down in Florida. I'd like to go see him too, but his story is, he's actually what Chucky is based off of. But Robert the doll is like this doll that this family bought for a boy. And I think the boy died, and they used to keep him up in the attic. And he's pretty creepy looking. Like, he's got holes in him and shit. He's kind of messed up a little bit. But anytime people would walk past the house, they would see Robert the doll up in the attic, in the window, sitting in the window, and it would like wave at people. They said they could see it move around, or sometimes he'd be there, sometimes he wouldn't. The family, the husband and wife, they said they could hear like walking around upstairs as if like Robert was walking around and stuff like that. But yeah, I can't remember the full story, but somehow Robert ended up in a museum, and you have to ask his permission to take a picture of him. And people that don't, whenever they leave, they end up having like horribly bad luck, like having car wrecks, family members dying, getting sick, losing jobs, getting divorces, like horrible shit. Because some people are like, oh, I don't believe in all that shit, so they like don't ask permission and take a picture of them, or they might smart off to them or something like that. Basically the same concept as Annabelle, and have horrible luck. And when you go to the actual museum in Florida to go see Robert, there's like hundreds, if not thousands, of letters that people have written to him because they got horrible luck. So it's like hundreds of thousands of apology letters to Robert the doll. But yeah, basically the storyline for the first movie is this family. It's called the Perron family. It's a true story. The dad is a trucker, and they move into this house, like a country house that's on the river. I can't remember where it's at. You'd have to look it up. And it's haunted by a little boy. I think his name was Rory. And a witch. Basically, the reason the house is haunted is there's a witch that lived there named Sheba. And she had killed her own kid, sacrificed it to the devil, and everyone found out, and she ended up hanging herself from a tree in the backyard. And the actual history of that is kind of 50-50. Some people believe it, some people don't. Some people think she might have just been kind of like a reclusive, weird old woman. Because, I mean, that's all you really had to be back in the day for anyone to think you were a witch. Which, I mean, hasn't changed much. You got the weird cat ladies on people's streets, and all the kids in the neighborhood are like, oh, she's a witch, you know? But, yeah, so she haunts the house, and she ends up possessing the mom. Basic haunting type stuff. The dad, he can't find work, so he's losing money. So they call Ed and Lorraine for help, and basically the mom ends up possessed by Bathsheba, and they end up exorcising her. But I wouldn't say that I have a favorite Conjuring movie out of the three. Right now, just temporarily, like, my favorite would be the third one, just because I've only seen it twice now. So, I mean, I could see me rewatching it. The first movie, I rewatched it like so many fucking times because it's such a good movie that I almost wore it out. Like, the other night when I was watching it, like, I kept getting on my phone because I'd seen it so many times. The second one, I actually did pretty well, though. Like, I watched it one time, like, I automatically went out and bought it. I don't think we went to theaters to go see it. I just went ahead and bought it because I already knew it'd be good. It's based off of the Enfield haunting, which, as far as believability, out of all three of the cases, it's the one that I believe the least. And even then, I'm kind of like 50-50 on it. Like, I've seen the photo of the girl, quote unquote, levitating, and it looks literally, she's next to a bed. It looks like she just literally jumped off the bed, and then they snapped a picture real quick. But the voice that she does, she's possessed by an old man who, like, died in a corner in a chair because the mom and the husband of the family had divorced. Apparently the husband was cheating on a neighbor down the road and ended up getting the woman pregnant, and she had twins basically, and he left. So it's like a single mom with I believe it's 3 kids. Struggling family. 2 of the girls are going through puberty, and I'm not trying to be weird, but usually that's when, like, poltergeist activity or, like, paranormal starts kicking in. It's, I mean, you can look it up, it's weird, but for some reason when, like, teenagers are going through puberty, that's usually when that type of weird phenomenon starts kicking in and stuff. But, yeah, I guess I'm going into the second one now. I would say I'm 50-50 on it, though. It could be real, it could not. Either way, it's entertainment. I always look at it like that, because for some reason, like, some people, you would be surprised how, like, militant atheists they are. Because, you know, you'll be like, oh, you'll be talking to someone else and they'll butt into the conversation. This used to happen all the time when I worked at Beaumont, when I was a bartender. Because at the time, I was a really big bookworm, which, actually, there's a good New Year's resolution. I'm trying to get back into reading, like, nonfiction again. Right now, I'm reading Whitley Strieber. Transformation is the book. It's the sequel to Communion, which I don't have that one. I wish I did. But I'm going to digress a little bit. But the second one, Transformation, I guess, like, the actual phenomenon that Whitley Strieber was going through, getting abducted by the Greys and stuff, like, it's still continued in his life. So that's what this one's about. I might end up doing some episodes on it, you know, if there's good material. But anyways, back to what I was saying though. I was a real big bookworm and stuff, and I'd be like, you know, me and my buddy, like, we were both into, like, paranormal, where we were both into cryptids, both into ufology and all that type of shit. And we had a guy that worked with us who was like, he said he was a Christian, which he was kind of like a loosey-goosey Christian, but he was almost like super militant. Like, anytime you started talking about anything alien or ghost, or he would literally like roll his eyes and be like, "You believe that shit?" And it's like, dude, I've seen UFO, I've seen demons, I've seen ghosts. Like, yeah, I believe that shit, you know? But my thing is, it's like, okay, even if you don't believe it, can you just not, like, look at it and be like, oh, that's a good horror movie? I mean, that's the same thing with, like, Amityville. Like, I'm 50-50 on Amityville, because there's actually an amazing, two separate amazing, like, podcasts. Well, back in the day, it was talk radio, but it was Art Bell. And he did two separate episodes on Amityville. He did one where a guy was, I think it was with George Lutz. He did one with George Lutz, the father, and then he did one of some guy debunking Amityville. And both of them put up a lot of evidence, I mean, to the point where I'm still, to this day, kind of like 50-50 on it, you know? But, I mean, I'm able to, like, put aside any of that bias and just watch a movie. I mean, just because it says based on a true story, it could be a hoax. I don't know. But, I mean, it's not going to stop me from sitting down and enjoying a movie, you know? But as far as the second one, it was pretty cool to see, like, definitely a change of scenery. Like, they're in England on this one. I do have to say this, though. This one was the last one directed by the dude, James Wu or whatever. And I'm kind of glad. Like, in the third one, he's not a director anymore. He's basically a producer. And James Wu, like, the first Conjuring was excellent. You guys know, after my little rant, what I thought about Annabelle, that they should have made an Annabelle movie, like an actual Annabelle movie. It would have been cool. Like, I just don't like the second movie. He starts going over the top, you know, and in the third one he really goes over the top, you know. And it's like, I hate that Hollywood does that, man. They take, like, a true story that's, like, really good, and they've got to push it over the top, because sadly, especially Americans, like, our attention span sucks, and we are so desensitized with, like, horror, and everything's got to be over the top. And it sucks, because most people don't read. Most people don't look into shit. So they're like, oh, this is a true story. And they believe every single part of the movie. And it's like, dude, it was not that crazy. You know, like, it was crazy. It was bizarre. It was freaky. But, you know, people weren't jumping out of windows. Like Ed never fell out of a window and got stabbed with a spear, which it didn't happen, but that whole scene never fucking happened. You know, he wasn't busting through the floorboards with an axe trying to crawl up through the floorboards. I just don't think that stuff is necessary, man. The reason I believe 50-50 on the whole perron thing is, in the movie, like, it kind of shows that one of the girls was actually faking stuff. And I can't remember off the top of my head if like they actually did find out she was faking some stuff, because right there that kind of throws out credibility, you know. And the way that in the movie, the way they depict it is that, like, yes, she was faking stuff, but like half of it was real, some of it was fake. That's up for you to decide. I mean, like I said, I'm 50-50 on it. Speaking of Amityville, though, they start the movie where they're actually investigating Amityville. I believe it was that one. Yeah, I think it was the second movie. They start the movie by investigating Amityville. And once again, it's like, I get it. They always start the Conjuring movies where they're investigating another case, but it's like, why don't you just make a whole movie on that? You know, I would rather sit down and watch a whole movie on it than one scene, you know? And I think it would be cool to see a new Amityville movie in the perspective of Ed and Lorraine Warren, because they actually investigated it, and they caught like a